Shalom Chaverim. Wednesday night again. It's July 16th. The weather here in the nation's capital continues hot and humid, but it is July. It reminds me more of August than July with the humidity and the heat. However, the meteorologists are telling us that this is typical for here in DC, so it's hot and humid. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of flash flooding, torrential rains. People died all around the country. So the weather has been rather severe. Fortunately, where we live, we have not had any problems with either flooding or anyone getting caught in anything. So Baruch Hashem, we're safe, and I hope that those of you watching and listening will be cautious and stay safe. Well, we're coming close to the end of our series, Make America Good Again. Not great, but good. And I think that's much more important for people of faith, for people who follow a practice that being good takes precedence over greatness. And this series, Make America Good Again, was inspired by Rabbi Fred Reiner, who worked in the Reform movement, to create a list of 10 Jewish values. And I don't know how many months ago, since we're on 10 tonight, and there was one or two interruptions, so it probably was about 12 weeks ago, I heard Rabbi Gary Fink do a sermon on the values. And so that's interesting. And then I went online and to my Reform movement and saw not just the final list, but the lists that had been going on and all the changes. And then my partner, Joe Sutliff, remember we have the YouTube channel, The Rabbi and Joe is the I, and we also have the podcast, The Rabbi and Joe is the cartoonist for our book, How to Be Jewish in 30 Seconds. So Joe and I were talking, and we're not sure how it evolved, but we talked about the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And, gee, I have these values, but I wonder what the three Abrahamic religions have to say about them. Then Joe and I were talking, and since we're here in D.C., Northern Virginia, we thought we have Hindus and we have Buddhists, a very large Hindu population and a very substantial Buddhist population. And so we said, gee, why not expand the series to include the three Abrahamic religions and then Buddhism and Hinduism? And that's what I've been doing. Tonight, we're up to step 10, if you will, or value 10. For those of you who have been listening, watching, and following, this total agreement, total and complete agreement. So far, not a single value has stood out as contraindicated. And I just stopped to read some of the comments. And what do I think of Jesus? Jesus was, the term rabbi didn't exist in his day, but if it did, he would have been a Pharisaic, apocalyptic, traveling rabbi. And he was preaching and teaching about the excesses in Judaism of the time of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He said he felt that Judaism had gone astray, and Jesus was among many preachers of that period who were talking about straightening out Judaism, about getting it back on track again. And so, a teacher. Moses, a teacher. Muhammad, a teacher. Now, each of our religions gives a different authority or level to each of these individuals, but the question was asked of me. And so we've been going through the tonight's number 10, and it so happens I have 11. The original series that Rabbi Reiner put together had 11 steps, and along the way, as it was being put together by the committee, people said, you want to make it 10 because, right, of the 10 utterances, the 10 commandments, and so it came out as 10. But on the original list, it was 11. And so next Wednesday, we will do the last of our series. Hamlet, more honored in the breach than in the observance. Shakespeare was spot on, when he said that we talk out a big game, we want to post the 10 commandments, but we don't want to live them. We want to have other people follow Jesus, other people follow Moses, other people follow Gandhi, other people follow Siddhartha Gautama, other people to follow Muhammad, but I'm not. And that's what Hamlet, actually Shakespeare, was addressing. He said, people are very diligent about not honoring values. And I would like Hamlet to be wrong. And that was part of the impetus behind this series, was let's make Hamlet wrong. Let's live our values. And that's why I decided to go along with these 5 different faith groups to show their values are in line. So, number 10, let me read if anything came in. Not happy with Israeli politics, by the way. Nasty business. Not happy with Russian politics in the Ukraine. Not happy with what's going on in the Horn of Africa. Not happy with what's going on with Democrats or Republicans. I think they're both letting us down, truly. However, 10, caring for the world. The concept of stewardship. Need I say more? The 3 Abrahamic faiths use the word stewardship. Hinduism and Buddhism don't use stewardship. They use interconnected reverence for nature and how can we destroy the planet that we're living on. We depend on produce. We depend on trees. We depend on the oceans. Was ist das Chochma? What is the reasoning? This is the question I would ask. Putting aside all faith beliefs, why would we destroy that which we need to survive? Why do we want to poison the air? Why do we want to deplete the natural resources so we're going to put an end to life as we know it? It staggers the imagination. And so the concept of stewardship comes right out of Genesis. Genesis 1:28. God blesses humanity and tells them, fill the earth, have dominion over everything. Now, dominion has been interpreted in different ways, but if one wants to have control or dominion or take charge of, you want stewardship because you want things to be around. You don't want to destroy everything so there's nothing left. So we start with Genesis and the idea of being stewards. Nature belongs to God, not human beings. And that's what's so upsetting about world politics, about war, about what's going on in Gaza, about now what's going on in Syria, all the killing and attacking. We're destroying God's planet. The Native American, the Aborigine, many, I haven't examined every religion, so I don't want to say every religion. However, everyone I've ever seen talks about stewardship, that nature belongs to God, not us. It doesn't belong to us. We're guardians of the galaxy, if you will. And so, we have the sacred text. We have Genesis, the Garden of Eden, the metaphor, the perfect place. Eat, work, keep it. And in the book of Leviticus. And I wish the government of Israel would pay attention to Leviticus 25. The land is mine, says the Lord God. You are but strangers and sojourners with me. Okay? Jews don't own the land. Muslims don't own the land. I think we have to stop pretending that we own the land and start sharing it and treating the land with the respect that God asks us in the book of Leviticus. In the book of Deuteronomy, do not destroy the trees. Don't destroy trees. The environment, then, the earth, is a sacred trust. We're not owners. We're guardians. Oh, I like that. Guardians of the galaxy. But for our step, it's guardians of the planet Earth. God's creation for future generations. Now, since Christianity accepts Old Testament, they said it's a testament. Whether it's young or old, it's a testament. And so all the quotes that I said apply to Christianity as well. The idea in Christianity is expanded. Creation reflects God's glory. Yeah, someone just said they have authority. Let's take the word authority over the earth, dominion over the earth. That doesn't mean wiping out. That doesn't mean killing for sport. That doesn't mean spoiling. That doesn't mean polluting. No. When you have authority, especially over God's property, and therein lies our key. The earth is the Lord's, not ours. How do you, just like human beings, we're created in God's image. How do we want to treat each other when we look at God? For Christianity, caring for creation is an act of worship. And so we have the same quote, Psalms, the earth is the Lord's and all it contains. In the book of in the epistle to the Romans, creation groans for redemption. Okay? And we have the same quotes, the same thing. Care for the earth stems from love of God. If you really love the Creator, then you're going to love what He created, especially since we're living in it. How many animals will pollute their home, their environment? Islam takes it again and expands it. Humans are stewards of Allah on earth. We have a responsibility to care for and preserve the environment and its resources. The earth is a divine trust. Is a basic Islamic teachings. And humans are the stewards. Humans in Islam are responsible for maintaining the balance on the planet Earth, not causing the corruption of the earth. And for those of you talking about war and bombings, whether it's by Palestinians, by Muslims, by Jews, by Israelis, who's ever doing it, we're destroying God's land. We are doing exactly the opposite of what God asked us to do. So there we have it. Environmental balance is part of God's design, Islam teaches. Accountability, and accountability is a big piece in Islam. We all will be accounted for the things we do here on earth in the hereafter. However you understand the hereafter, however it's understood, we're going to be held accountable. And so we are going to be held accountable for polluting, for bombing, for killing, for murdering, on whatever side. And there is no justification. Except for someone directly attacks self-defense. But we'll talk about that next time. Quran, Surah 6. Do not waste, for Allah does not love the wasteful. Surah 2. I am placing upon the earth stewards. Surah 55. Allah established the balance, do not transgress it. I would like to point out to both Muslims and Jews, this endless, senseless war destroys the balance. Judaism asks us to stop it. Allah asks to stop it. And it's up to the politicians to stop it, not us throwing pithy things at each other. That's not going to solve anything. Us talking with each other, us agreeing to work on things. Now, Quran Surah 7. Eat and drink, but do not be wasteful. Oh, what a great teaching. One of the biggest sins in the United States of America is waste. We are so fast to buy the next big thing. We're so fast to jump on the bandwagon. We're so fast to throw stuff away, not because it doesn't work, not because it's broken, but we want the newest glittery thing. It's just wasteful. Just waste. There's not a lot wrong with a lot of things we own. Something breaks, replace it. Someone comes up with a design that is more efficient, saves energy and better, let's use it. But just to replace my thermos because the next one's a different color, or it has a different handle, or it doesn't have a spitchik here, it's wasteful. Until this is no longer useful, doesn't work, or I lose it, I'll use it. Consumerism, we're killing our planet, we're destroying. And I think this quote from the Quran is spot on. Do not be wasteful. Enjoy, use, it's all there. Don't be wasteful. Buddhism teaches us interconnectedness, interdependence. All things are interdependent, and harming the environment, not even ultimately, it hurts us directly. Now they're telling me microplastics. They're in my brain. The good news is, I'm going to be 79 in August. I always say 80 because I like the figure 80. I'm going to be 79 in a month. So I'll have a natural death, or I'll get killed by a space toilet that's thrown out of the space station, or hit by a bus. But in any case, I've already spent 79 years, so the microplastics aren't going to hurt me. For those of you younger, they will. And the same thing applies to lead and arsenic. The same thing applies to dye and polluting our water and polluting our air. For those of you listening, you're younger, you're going to be spending more time being contaminated. So start now. Stop it. Eat and drink, but do not be wasteful. The hurting, the Buddha taught, harming the environment ultimately harms ourselves. And I take out the word ultimately because it's already hurting us. Do no harm. The earth is a system. The trees, the plants, the tomatoes, the cucumbers, the cows, the ducks, the shrimp, the lobster, they're insects. There's an interconnected going on. And we all depend on each other for food. And we all depend on each other for keeping the earth clean and neat. There are scavenger birds, and their job is to pick up dead animals, pick up that which could pollute or contaminate the water. And that's what the Buddha taught. Same value. Buddhism, instead of stressing stewardship, is stressing the harm we're doing to the very place that we live and polluting our air and everything else. Non-harming, not so easy for me to say. this interconnectedness. And we're talking about simplicity. How many travel mugs do I need? How many pens do I need? It's fun. It's nice to get new clothes. It's nice to get something new. Nothing wrong with getting so. In fact, in Judaism, we have a blessing, Tit Kadesh. Whenever you get something for the first time, it doesn't have to be brand new that nobody owned it. If you go to the Goodwill, or you go to any of the secondhand or any of the stores that sell, and you buy something that you didn't own, you say the blessing. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has blessed me with something new. And we sometimes take new to mean never used before, but that's not what the blessing is. What a great statement about humility. What a great way to talk about caring for the world. Acknowledging I have something I never had before. So, the Buddhist teaching. All tremble at violence. Comparing oneself with others, one should not harm others. Don't harm. Don't be envious. Don't be jealous. Just because someone has something, you don't have to get it. The Buddha encouraged planting trees, grass. The wise person does not cause suffering to plants or animals. Our food supply, we certainly can eat animals. And we'll slaughter them quickly. And they're part of the chain. They're part of the food supply. I keep thinking of the Lion King and the circle of life and the chain. And as long as we have respect and we provide, there'll be always something. But eventually, we could actually destroy everything. Caring for the environment. Now, Hinduism, same as Buddhism. There are specific emanations of deities, of forests and water. And so in order to reinforce this idea, everything has living. And we sometimes talk about deities in Hinduism. What we're talking about is not gods, but rather a life force. It's living. Rivers, mountains, forests are all sacred. Okay? Because they are part of the whole. And so we find in the Hindu teachings this idea of stewardship. Protect the environment. Because rivers are living, mountains are living. And Hinduism may use deities or give it a God's name, but it's not the same as the definition of God in the West. It's just a way of creating reverence and respect. Nature is divine. God dwells in rivers, trees, mountains, and in animals. So reverence for all. The earth. We even talk about Mother Earth, don't we? And we have all gone to rivers, to mountains, to the shore, to the coast, and we've felt God's presence, haven't we? Haven't we felt something when we've walked a path, we've walked a trail, we've walked over a creek, we've walked circumambulated around a pond or a lake? The Hindu teaches, earth is our mother, and we are her children. No different than we say the earth belongs to God and we are just sojourners on it. Same thing, just said in a different cultural context. Rain sustains food. Food sustains life. It's a cycle. And we can decide we're not going to eat this, so we're going to eat this, so we're going to eat kosher, we're going to eat halal, we're going to follow this dietary. That's all an individual choice to show our respect for the environment. Don't harm trees. Don't harm plants. Don't abuse seeds. I know that's strange, but that's the Hindu teaching. The earth is sacred, living. It's living. It's Mother Earth. Well, that's 10. And next week, God willing, if the creeks don't rise, my health continues, I don't get hit by a space toilet, I will conclude making America good again by following the values. And I've just followed 5 religions, and I wouldn't want to be so presumptuous and say as I said earlier, if we look at native religions on our planet, they all talk about being stewards. They all talk about protecting the planet. They all talk about take only what you need and use everything you take. Don't waste. Excuse me. That may be our lesson for caring for the world. No abuse of our planet. No waste of our planet. Because it's Mother Earth. Nature reveals God, and we are only sojourners. Okay. I didn't begin by inviting people, so I'm going to end. You can see that I'm alone this week, which means that no one sent me an email to ask to co-host with me. So instead of saying it at the beginning, I'm going to say it at the end. If anyone would like to co-host with me next week, I can postpone step 11. We can pick a topic. We can do the topic you would like. And we can meet in my Zoom room, discuss how 2 of us, 3 of us, 4 of us, how we're going to have a panel. I open it, I offer, I invite. But so far, no one has taken me up on co-hosting with me. So please. So I'm ending with that request. And of course, a word from our sponsor. My book, Joe Sutliff's book, How to Be Jewish in 30 Seconds. You should embrace your religion, embrace your values, as these children are embracing art. And the cartoons are worth the price of the book alone. Never mind the wisdom of Rabbi Block. See if there are any questions to tie us up. It's always a little difficult with the values and how fast and how many quotes I give to space the 30 minutes. Well, there we have it. Stewardship, interconnectedness, reverence for Mother Earth. My YouTube channel, The Rabbi and I. The podcast, The Rabbi and I, if you would like to hear more or see more of me. And I did post a single TikTok on AI. So you may want to watch AI Rabbi Block on my individual TikTok that I posted last week. And I haven't been posting the individual ones as often since I've been doing more work for these presentations for 30 minutes. So I'm done. If there's a question or two, I don't see any. If anyone has a question for the last 2 minutes. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Someone brought up again thoughts on Jesus. I'll repeat what I said. Jesus was born a Jew, died a Jew, Pharisaic, apocalyptic rabbi. He traveled around during the intertestamental period with a lot of other individuals preaching great wisdom. The Sermon on the Mount. Perfect. He wanted us to live. And for those of us who are Jewish, we're going to follow the teachings of Moses. For those who are Muslim, the teachings of the Muhammad. And for our Christian friends, live Jesus. That's what he would have wanted. Lila Tov, have a good night.